republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we have under special orders of business a proclamation for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And Councilor Cross, would you like to introduce our guest this evening?
Sure, I would love to. Do you two want to come up? I have written down, sorry, I want to make sure that I say everything right. So Marissa Ramal, how do I say your last name? What? You're here, yep, come up here. Yes.
Okay.
She represents a Filipino as incumbent and two-term president of the Greater Salem Filipino American Association.
Oh, that's her. Okay.
And Marissa Scherer is a small business owner of the only Filipino food restaurant in Salem, Oregon, surrounding cities in the 60-mile radius. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you. If you would have a seat and share with us, and then I will read the proclamation and send a copy with you. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you could introduce yourself.
Thank you. I will let our incumbent president of the Greater Salem Filipino American Association take the stage before me. Okay. She is more eligible than I.
I don't know about that.
I do want to say one thing. I was so happy to meet you ladies last year when I attended, as my grandfather was an immigrant from the Philippines. So thank you for being here.
Yay, thank you.
Okay, well, I prepared a little bit of a speech because it says their presenter has to do a 5-minute thing. So, and Marisa only told this to me a couple days ago. But anyway, I'm here. And good evening. I'm Maribel Ramilosa, president of the Greater Salem Filipino American Association, GSFAA for short. I'm here to represent GSFAA. First, I would like to recite our pledge. We are the members of the Filipino American community to promote a close fellowship, unity, understanding, mutual well-being, community relationship, and recognition of ideals, appreciation, and pride of cultural heritage. From our forefathers, do hereby form this association of GSFAA. This is my 4th year as president, and my term ends this year. We have accomplished a lot in the last 4 years, generated funds, and were able to do scholarships and donation. We also have successful events like the Independence Day picnic in June, the World Beat event at the end of June, the Christmas party, and last February we had our Valentine party at the Salem Convention Center. Mayor Julie Hoy was our guest speaker. Mayor of Salem, Julie Hoy. We recently published our Kaibigan magazine, which is very informative as to our achievements and activities. Last year, we created a new division of GSFAA called the GSFAA Cultural Group, headed by Mona Okupe. This group performs cultural dancers and will be performing at the upcoming GSFAA picnic and Warbeat event. There's so much to say about GSFAA, and I'm very excited to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. It is an honor to be in front of the Keizer city.
Red light on.
Is it on?
It should be on. They're a little bit quiet tonight, so,
Okay.
but they are working. Yes.
Directly into the microphone.
Yeah. Okay. So as I was mentioning, it is really an honor to be in front of you people, the officers of the city of Keizer, Mayor Kathy Clark, and councilors and officers. I was invited here to speak a little bit about Filipino being also an AAPI. I represent the Filipino small business here in Salem, Keizer. We are the Manila Fiesta Filipino food, and I'm going to give you my business card later. If any one of you haven't had Filipino food, now is the time. We are the only Filipino food here in Salem, and even in a 60-mile radius, we're still the only one. We serve original, authentic, traditional Filipino food, and I assure you, you will enjoy and you will have a very good experience, like you were in the Philippines. We are a counter-style dine-in, take-out restaurant, and we also cover catering. Some of my customers are the Oregon Department of Corrections. We just catered like 300 people. We have catered Oregon Lottery for 150 people. We have catered Salem Keizer School District for 450 boxed lunch. We have City of Salem also. We have catered for them. Marion County Environmental Services, the Willamette Education Services District, the Salem Hospital, and the Western Oregon University. So you might have some catering jobs for me. Please feel free to contact me. This is our Filipino flag that we are very proud of. And can I give you this?
What I
Sorry.
will do is I will read the proclamation. We will come and give you the copy, and we will bring them to the city councilors. So at this time, I would like to read the proclamation for tonight, which reads as follows. The month of May was designated as Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month to commemorate the immigration of the first Japanese to the United States on May 7, 1843, and the anniversary of the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad on May 10, 1869, in which the majority of the workers who laid the tracks were Chinese immigrants. And whereas Asian, Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community members have made significant contributions to the culture, economy, and heritage of Keizer, and whereas Asian, Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders encompasses all of the Asian continent and Pacific Islands and is comprised of many nations, ethnic groups, cultures, each with a unique identity and rich heritage, including over 100 different languages. And whereas each nation deserves the respect to be named and recognized individually herein, and I do have all of the countries list, but I'll go by section. Whereas Eastern Asian includes China, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Macau, Mongolia, Paracel Islands, and Taiwan. Whereas Southeastern Asia includes Brunei, Myanmar, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And whereas South Central Asia includes Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And whereas Western Asia includes Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Bahrain, Cyprus, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. And whereas the Pacific Islands include Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia, and many, many island nations therein. And whereas the Federal Asian Pacific American Council's theme for 2025 is a legacy for leadership and resilience, which, quote, honors the hard work of AANHPI leaders who established a foundation for future generations to thrive and adapt to change and adversity. The 2025 AANHPI Heritage Month poster features bamboo as a symbol of strength, endurance, and resilience for its ability to withstand the harshest conditions. Bamboo's solid foundation ensures it can bend with the wind and stand tall after the storm passes. The bamboo also acknowledges the colloquial bamboo ceiling and the cultural, organizational, and individual barriers that hinder advancement for AA and HPIs in the workplace, end quote. Now therefore, the Keizer City Council assembled here in regular session does hereby proclaim May of 2025 as Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Month. So, Councilor Cross, would you help me in presenting this proclamation? Thank you very much.
I think we're sending up.
We can come up here with, we're going to have a picture there.
All right, are we happy?
Oh, Carrie, you're here. Would you join us? Don't you send us?
Thank you so
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, and your, oh, she's over there. Yes, please.
Thank you so much for being here on such short notice.
Thank you. I know, thank you.
Thank you.
Try the Filipino food, it's really.
I've been there.
Go to World Beat,
Yeah.
June 28, 29.
Real
Go
beat.
to the Asian Village and look for the Filipino food, there's a sign.
You're one of my faves. Just want to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
The food is one of the many reasons that I know I enjoy World Beat. And thank you again so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Once more for representatives from the Greater Salem Filipino American Association. We will now go to committee reports, and we are going to start off with, going back to my agenda. I have signed up Rhonda Rich from West Keizer Neighborhood Association. Yeah, there's a pile here. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff. My name's Rhonda Rich, and I'm here as president of the West Keizer Neighborhood Association. And we have a meeting this week, and so that's why I'm here to announce it. So anybody watching on TV, welcome to come to the meeting. This will be our last meeting until September, unless we need to have a special meeting. But we like to take the summer off, and I wish you guys could too. But but I'd like to say at our next meeting, which is Thursday, starts at 7 o'clock. Our main focus will be a presentation of the Keizer Rapids Park Master Plan Amendment for the Pavilion, and City Manager Adam Brown will be presenting at the meeting. Next in order, we have recognition of Gary Blake, who has served for 17 years, and also a recognition of all the volunteers at our meeting. I'm going to have everybody say what they've done, even if they've just picked trash off the street. It's volunteering in Keizer. And we gave each of you a little memento for thank you for volunteering, because we appreciate the time that you put in and take away from your families and things you'd probably rather be doing. But thank you for leading our city. And then the community library, Myra Rosales, the board of directors, and Maribel Monroy, bilingual outreach coordinator. They'll be both talking about the summer programs at the library. So we're going to have cake, and I think Councilor Duran will be there. And any of you are welcome. I don't know how many can get together at one time, but we'd welcome you and thank you. And I think that's it.
Well, thank you, and for the tremendous work this year. Appreciate it. Questions? All right.
I'm coming for cake.
Okay. Thank you.
Feed them and they will come. All right, David Philbrick for Traffic Safety Bike Ped.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm a Keizer resident and member of the Traffic Safety Bikeways Pedestrian Committee. So I'm here to report on our meeting of last month on April the 17th. The meeting was atypical in that we had 4 citizens come before the meeting and at the beginning, and in some ways it's a accumulation of the same issues that have come back. I think many of the citizens had been here. This was at least their 3rd meeting attending. One of the issues is people not parking but waiting in their cars over in the Alder area for children being dismissed from the middle school, Claggett Middle School, particularly after the school. And unfortunately, it's the 3rd time the individual has come back. The first time they were at the committee, we suggested that they approach the principal of the school and look for what could be done in the way of communications and things to try and alleviate some of the problem. And the citizen tried to do that and got no response from the principal at the school, is my understanding. Came back the next month. Essentially, we expected some help from the city to get the attention of the council to get the attention of the principal, and it didn't happen that month. And so again, I'm hopeful that by our next meeting, we will have been able to connect with the principal and see what could be done. In our experience, it doesn't solve the problem, but it does often help alleviate the impact on the neighborhood around the schools. This is certainly not unique to Claggett Middle School. Nowadays, almost all the kids that are not riding on buses tend to be met by the parents in cars, and it creates a real traffic issue around the schools, particularly at the end of the day. The other citizens were both dealing with what they perceived as speeding and congestion, are higher density traffic on their streets. In this case, it was Park Meadow over by Clear Lake, going between Windsor Island and River Road, and Verda between Lock Haven and Chemawa. And particularly the folks on Verda perceived the traffic volumes to be increasing dramatically since the apartments were put in on Verda between Dearborn and Chemawa, and also with the traffic circle. In both cases, we've done speeding studies, and the results are, in my opinion, somewhat predictable. The average speed of the cars comes out to often be around 32. Again, the posted speed limits are 25, but it doesn't become a real enforcement issue unless the speeds are over 35, and there are not that many cars over 35. In both cases, the neighborhood perceives the speeds as being unsafe, and particularly with higher volumes on Verda, people are beginning to feel that it's difficult to cross the street to get their mail, and it just makes the street kind of an unhealthy neighbor. I would mention that was one of the reasons, primary reasons, in fact, that a couple months ago, our committee recommended reducing the residential speed limits from 25 to 20. And I think in part that would reduce that average speed to be closer to the 25, which is desirable. The other issue raised on Verda was simply people parking in the bike lane, which they felt was causing cyclists to go out into the street in ways that was not particularly safe. The only other issue I would report from the committee would be simply our putting in a proposal as part of the budgeting process to do green paint on I think in the bike lane areas of River and Chemawa and River and Lock Haven. I do think that Laura Christopher, who was at the April 17th meeting, made a good suggestion in terms of the reducing speed limits from 25 to 20 to try it in a few areas and see areas that were particularly critical and see both how it worked and how the community responded to it, just as opposed to necessarily going citywide. I do want to thank the council and the other volunteers that made the volunteer recognition possible. I think the committee appreciated that. And I'd also like to very much support our staff support, Mike Griffin, Officer Powell, and Don Wilson. They really make the committee work possible. And I want to support the traffic portion of the police budget because I know Officer Powell is stretched very thin and is aware of many of the issues on some of the roads that come up. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Philbrick?
Thank you.
I've got two, if you could stand by. There were two recommendations that I heard come from the meeting, and Councilor Christopher, if you have anything after I kind of try to summarize what I heard. On the Alder issue with people waiting in their cars, are they actually engaged in an infraction in any way, being pulled over, waiting in their cars? I'm just wondering if this is anything that's even enforceable.
Yeah, that's kind of a loaded question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the
I know,
spot.
and it's a long conversation that I'm sure that you've had with Officer Powell. It really does come down to a school issue and kids getting in and out of school at a prompt, timely manner. Kind of, yes, you could maybe go an infraction issue, but I mean, I've talked to a traffic officer, Powell, many times about this, and yes and no, because they're in their car. They're not actually parked. It's running on the side of the road, but they're also kind of probably in the bike lane, which is not legal. But where else do you go? I mean, that's the issue, and you can't cite 100 parents every day. So it really is something that we should have conversations with the school. I would love to connect with you just for a brief moment outside and talk with you just for a second and get some more information from you, so we can work on at least getting a conversation with the principal. So I think we can make that happen.
And that was going to be one of my follow-up questions, was while the resident may want to engage with them, it sounds like this might be more appropriately between the city and the school district, because this is like any business that is creating a traffic issue, and to work on solutions that would be appropriate for their location. We've done it before with other businesses that have had congestion, and I don't see why the school would be any different, in my humble opinion, but I could be wrong. On the other one, on the rate of speed, there were two things I heard. One was, the studies that we've done and so forth. Are these two locations on the rotation to get the mobile speed trailer? And if not, can we get them on the list just so that one goes there every so often to remind people?
I know that it has been on Verda, and I believe it also has been on Park Meadow, and it does make a difference.
Yeah. Just get it queued up again, and maybe every so often. I don't know how frequently that happens, but that might be a good reminder, short term. Longer term, I heard discussion about, I don't know what our options are legally when it comes to speed limits within our neighborhoods. Something tells me it's a little bit more regulatory, maybe a lot, but I don't have anything to work from to even have that conversation about feasibility, practicality, effectiveness. I got nothing. So is anybody else interested in understanding this issue better? Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And maybe, Mr. Brown, that was reported, I think, like another report before, when the traffic committee came and reported that they had made that recommendation. So I think it was sent to staff to talk about. I think that might have been a month or so ago. So you're probably still working on gathering all that information, but I just wanted to make sure people knew that staff were working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Council President. That you're correct. And I remember, I think you were actually there at that meeting, yeah. And I know we got like initial cost on just the signage to replace, which is pretty astronomical feat. But, so yeah, we're looking at it and the cost of implementation and so.
Okay, at least we can have a conversation, understand what we're dealing with, and also if there's any links to studies that help us understand where they work and why. Counselor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My 4 years on the Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee, this has come up several times. And Sergeant Leday at the time had said that changing the speed limits in different zones was a lot more than just putting up different signs. There's some county or city regulations or state regulations about what those are. And so I just remember there being some challenges with that too, rather than just putting signs up, but I don't remember exactly what they were.
So, so we'll get the information that we all can get at the same time with all those different pieces, and then we can decide how we want to proceed, if, and in what manner for further conversation. Mr. Philbrick?
No, I just was going to mention, Salem's been going through this in a, 20 is plenty kind of proposal. And at a recent meeting, they indicated they had something, we're looking at changing something like over 3,000 signs, changing the speed limits throughout Salem in the residential areas. And I spoke with the traffic and the person there representing Public Works, and he indicated that it was pretty easy to reduce, administratively, it's pretty easy to reduce speed limits from 25 to 20. When you're reducing speed limits from 35 to say 30 or 45 to 40 or something, then it requires a lot more engineering studies and there's a lot more hoops to go through. It's more complicated.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anything further? Councilor Duran.
In the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association meeting last week, they brought the people stopping on Alder from the school, and though the people that were there said they've tried to get a hold of the principals, and they can't seem to get anybody to call them back. So if maybe the city can do something and get a hold of the principal, it would be a benefit to the neighborhood association, because they can't seem to get anybody. They asked if anybody had contacts with the school board or the school administrators to go from the top down, and that hasn't, I haven't made any comments about that yet, but we'll see if the city can help with that.
Yeah. So I believe we'll be following up with that, and Chief Copeland will help take the lead on initiating that conversation. But I would agree with you, Counselor, that this is really appropriate between staff. They are a business, their traffic is impacting the spaces around them, and there needs to be figuring that out. So, thank you. Mr. Philbrook, did you have
Just
something?
one final comment. I wanted to give kudos to the principal of the elementary school who did respond to the citizens and sent information out to the parents, and apparently it helped a lot. So the problem now is the middle school.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and a little bonus, you were over at the middle school, at the elementary school for the Safe Routes to School for the bicycle training.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic program. How many students got their certificates that day or were learning to ride their bikes?
I don't know, but that was at Clear Lake, and I want to...
Oh, that was Clear Lake, sorry.
Both the mayor and Officer Copeland showed up to help. And it was a lot more, I will say, because I have participated in 5 other schools around Salem, that Keizer City Council and staff really supported it more visibly than I've seen in other schools, and thank you. And as well as the community. There was a family that donated a couple bikes and things for kids. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really exciting, and more students walking and riding their bikes through our Safe Routes to School program is going to alleviate some of the cars that are parked on the side of the road as well. So every effort helps. Thank you so much. Let's see. And that is everybody I have signed up for committee reports. Did I miss anybody? Okay, we'll go to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other on the agenda, other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearings. We have one public hearing scheduled for this evening. That's the exemption of name brand specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection product. So if you're here for that, please stand by. I have Caleb Folsom signed up for public comment. Come on down. If you just state your name and your city of residence for the record, you have 5 minutes to tell us what's on your mind.
Thank you. I have some visual aids. I don't know if you guys would want.
If you would like to give them to Ms. Bissett, she can get them to us. All right.
Well, thank you for being willing to hear me.
Yes.
So I'm a local builder developer here in Keizer, and I've put a lot of time into trying to understand the new middle housing code and how that applies here.
And your city of residence, just to,
I live in Jervis.
okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And yeah, Shane and I have had many discussions trying to figure it out. I have a property particularly that I'm attempting to develop as a cottage cluster development here in Keizer. As a cottage development here in town. And there's a few things that I've run into in trying to design these on different properties in town that seem to make it untenable to do this kind of development in Keizer. And so I highlighted on the handouts I gave you the things that I found in the code that kind of make it not financially feasible. And if you like, I could go over those with you. So one of the things is the spacing between the buildings that's required in the code. Generally, Oregon Construction Code, Fire Code allow for a 3-and-3 building separation. Keizer is requiring a 10-foot building separation on cottages, which if you have a building that's only 16 feet to begin with wide, that's a massive span between them. And makes it so you can't, between the common area requirements, parking requirement, well, responsible development parking requirements, and all the other setbacks, it makes it so you just can't put enough units in there. And it also impedes the layout where you could potentially lay them out in a more advantageous, more useful, more functional way if you didn't have that setback requirement. Or at least reduced it to a 6-foot instead of a 10. Specifically on the development that I gave you on the handout there, those are designed at 6 feet. We would probably only be able to fit 8 buildings there under the current code and layout. The other thing is in the Oregon middle housing, there's not really a restriction on the number of cottages allowed per lot as long as you meet the setback requirements and the fire and safety requirements. However, Keizer limits it to 8 effectively by the 2 areas I highlighted there in the code, by limiting it to 1 common area per lot and then only 8 cottages per common area. It makes it so you have to then, rather than what I believe the intent of middle housing was, velocity of housing, especially with cottages, to allow them to be quickly built. By limiting it to 8, without a partition, then you trigger the partition process, which incurs extra cost and a lot of extra time in being able to build those. And by the time you've gone through that process, you might as well do a plex development or something else. particular on this development, I feel like it fits into the neighborhood better as a smaller, less vertical building. And I just think it'd look great over there.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions, Counselor Christopher?
So these are independently owned?
I haven't decided as to which direction we were going to go on that.
Okay. And our code limits you to 8, and you're wanting to have how many?
Well, it'd be nice to at least do what Salem allows, which is, I believe, 12.
So Salem allows 12.
It does.
Okay.
Good. Counselor Dradden, do you have anything?
Yeah. Come on,
I'm going to the,
Yeah, I've gone over this, and it's kind of a neat development, and I think it would be a neat thing to see, but it really pushes the envelope on density, which is something that we're getting a lot of pushback on as it is. So it's one of those things, once we open the door for something like this, we could see a lot of high-density building in Keizer, and I think we'd have a lot more than him here talking about it, against it. So it's a neat concept, and I think this particular, development would look nice. But to have these all over town, I think would really be packing things in. So it's hard, I'm kind of,
Is it worse or better than apartments?
to me, it's different.
The same.
It's just different. It's still the density. I think they might look a little bit better than apartments, but it's still packing things in. So I'm kind of it's kind of hard for me to be for it or against it, other than I know we're going to get pushback if we were for it.
so I'm going to, Counselor Cross, can I go to Mr. Witham and then come to you for your question? Okay, Mr. Witham?
I just want to clarify for council, middle housing is an applicable standard to the residential single-family zone. It is not the same thing as apartments. Multifamily, which would be defined as basically 5 or more units in a building, not allowed in the residential single-family zone. So I just wanted to make sure you understand that when we're talking about properties that are in the existing residential single-family zone. Middle housing, a couple years ago, changed the world of residential single-family, where now we're allowing up to fourplexes or cottage clusters or townhomes, which townhomes can look very much like apartments depending on how they're constructed, but those would truly be separately owned, or at least separately platted. But a cottage cluster development, that's going to happen on an actual residential zone. If it was medium density, then you could build apartments. But just wanted to make sure you understood that. It's not quite the same.
Counselor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have like 3-part question. What other properties do you own in Keizer, just to give the council an idea of maybe what kind of responsible builder you are? And how big are each of these cottages?
Okay. We just finished a development over above the Alder Ridge School. We built 2 triplexes there. And there was concern expressed when we built those that would they be too tight, that would there be enough parking? Ultimately, at the end of that development, we achieved almost a 2-to-1 parking ratio. And so we try to make sure that we have livable units for our clients. When I build and develop, I kind of want to picture how would I feel living here. And a lot of what our model has been so far is a build and hold model. So I'm thinking about how these things are going to be managed long-term when we're developing them. And so it's in my best interest to be responsible in how I set these up and design them. The size of these cottages here are 1,150 square feet. They have 2 masters upstairs and a half bath downstairs with an open concept. I should have probably included some of the layouts in the handouts there. So they're they're a little more significant than like a tiny home. They're a place that someone could really, it'd be a great spot for someone downsizing or someone just getting started, is kind of what I'm looking at, who these would appeal to.
Follow-up?
Yes. Follow-up question is, if we're not able to help you with this code, what will you put on that land?
Most likely we'll probably repeat what we did on Alder.
And what was that?
They're triplexes or plex development.
And how high can you go on those?
They're right at the, right at the limit. They're 3-story. They have a garage underneath with a bedroom in the back, a main floor that's open concept, and then two bedrooms upstairs and 2 bathrooms upstairs.
And I know we hear a lot about parking. What will you do for parking for this?
Should have more than enough parking with that design as well.
Thank you. Any other questions on Council President Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you expand on what you mean by when Councilor Cross asked the question about parking, you said it shouldn't be a problem, but what does that mean?
We actually will probably end up with a little bit more parking than what we would have with cottages. We should have definitely a 2-to-1 ratio there.
And so if there's, I guess I think about developments that have duplexes in them, and you get, you know, 2 or 3 people living in one side of a duplex, and they each have a car. And now you've got 2 sides of the duplex, right? You've got another 3 cars. That's 6. So what happens with the overflow?
When we manage them, we allow 2 vehicles per dwelling, and we don't allow large vehicles over a midsize. And that's one of the ways we make that work. It keeps it from having a long truck that's hanging out into a narrow alley or driveway.
How do you manage that?
We just don't allow them.
But do you, sorry, follow up, but.
Follow-up, yes.
Thank you. I thank you for not allowing it, but how do you monitor and make sure that,
It's in our lease agreements when we have people move in. And yes, the neighbors do help, but we, on a regular basis, our property managers come by and check at least once or twice a week on the parking situation.
Okay, thank you.
So my question is for Mr. Witham, have these issues been before the Planning Commission for conversation? And with that, how would they compare to what we're doing with the townhomes, like the 6 that are going in behind my house?
Yeah. This specific issue hasn't been before Planning Commission, no. There's been no staff-initiated text amendment. Obviously, when we went to Planning Commission in, Councilor Duran, help me, it was a couple years ago. It was like an 8-month-long, 9-month-long process with multiple public meetings. We heard from lots of people. I still am the bad guy in Keizer that allows all of the infill. But with House Bill 2001, it was a housing options bill. That's what it was titled by the state. It was kind of, it was birthed and sold a little bit as an affordable or more affordable housing bill, but that quickly morphed because they realized, it really isn't about affordable housing. It's really about housing options to allow that missing middle housing, the duplex, triplex, quad, cottages, townhomes. And there were hard points in that language in the OARs that adopted those. So there was a lot of things we couldn't choose. Like we couldn't make choices about parking, for example. We couldn't make choices about what we would allow on certain lot sizes. So we can put, triplexes on 5,000 square foot lots. I've told, you can, you have to, we have to. Like frame of reference, I live on a 7,000 square foot lot in a 1,500 square foot house. So I could put a 4-plex on my lot technically in Keizer where I live. So Planning Commission we had robust discussions, lots of meetings, and ultimately they made choices along the way of what they wanted to allow at those points where we could, and then we adopted the other, just on that standard. So it's hard building separation. Mr. Folsom, 100% right. Building code would be 3 feet separation. If you're smaller than that, you're into firewalling situations. Long-held standard in Keizer has always been 5-foot minimum side yard setbacks and 10-foot building separations in multifamily projects as well. Only exception would be like commercial businesses that are all connected, and you can have things connected in the commercial zones. So that was, Planning Commission wanted to keep that same building separation. They also limited heights of cottages to 20 feet, whereas the residential zone is a 35-foot height limitation normally. So that was something they felt that cottage housing was a different type of housing. It's a different choice or option for a developer to utilize. It's more smaller scale housing. The state's standards, though, said you have to allow at least a 900 square foot footprint for a cottage, and you have to allow a 20-foot height. So theoretically, you could build a cottage development of, 1,800 square foot homes with a shed roof design and call them cottages, which isn't exactly what people think of when they think of cottage development. So Planning Commission was pretty sensitive to that because of proximity. We get a lot of concerns. The project you mentioned where you have a lot of 1-story homes and now development happens and 2-story homes come in, people don't like that either. So I think Planning Commission really did a good job of considering it, and that's what we adopted. So we haven't opened up middle housing yet. We don't think it's broken. Basically every building permit we have issued in the last 2 years has been either middle housing or ADUs. I just saw 2 single-family homes for the first time in 2 years are being applied for in one of our subdivisions, but that was unusual. So, but anyway, does that help kind of clarify a little bit?
It does a little bit. So yes, and would this be something for Mr. Folsom to bring to the Planning Commission to open that conversation? Because this is going to get very technical very fast, which your explanation just did. And also with some of the new regulatory changes that we know are working their way through the tortuous legislative process. There's a lot of things we don't know are going to be happening by the end of the legislative session. So opening up the code is probably in our future anyway. So, I think it'd be a great conversation for him to bring to Planning Commission. Mr. Calderon, what do you think?
What I recommended is Mr. Folsom bring this in as a variance to initiate this.
Okay.
But he doesn't really want to wait for that, so.
Gotcha.
But it's
gotcha.
not, I don't think it's anything anybody wants to bring up. I mean, nobody feels like it's broken, from my understanding. So that's his path forward, is to bring it up as a variance, which could open this up to be changed in the future. But it'll take time. Anything's going to take time, so.
Yeah.
But that would be the way he would initiate it, would be a variance.
Right, and the lower building heights, if this is the neighborhood I think it is, I saw the little notation on West Street. I agree with you, it'd be welcome to the neighbors, which it would fit into that, into the flow in that neighborhood, rather than the 3-story, which we're seeing up on Dearborn and, toward Chemawa. So I would agree. I'm going to go Council President Starr, and then I'll go back to Councilor Christopher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Folsom, I thought I heard you say 12 units. So when I counted here, there were 14, and that's not counting the 2 on the edge over here.
Oh, those are, that's the parking area.
This is parking?
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure what you were pointing to.
So this is parking?
Correct.
So people would have to walk?
So that is following the current code, only it's at the 6-foot spacing. So currently, I've sliced this so many ways trying to make it work. That plan is a partition, so it'd be a line down the middle of those. And so that would actually be 2 7-unit cottage cluster developments. And I wanted to maximize the amount of common area space for the community. So that's why, basically, that you could imagine a property line going down the center of that common space. The way we were going to develop it was leave that open, so there would be more open space for the residents.
Follow up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And then, so then one more, just this is not my wheelhouse, so I'm asking for my educational. Is the 150, when I read here in our development code, it says 150 square feet of common open space per unit shall be provided. So is that 150 square feet, is that the green space before and behind is the 150?
That
or-
includes the center area.
So you took the 150 per unit and just put it all in one common space?
Well, as it's designed in the code, you are supposed to do that, essentially. It's supposed to
Okay.
be fronted on the cottages. And there's a section that talks about if it's not fronted, it has to be directly connected by a sidewalk
okay.
or walkway.
Perfect.
So if you look
It's all
there,
just in one?
all but 2 in the very back corners are actually directly fronted onto the common area.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And there's well in excess of 150 square feet per building there.
Thank you.
Counselor Christopher?
And then what's in the back? Is there any space in the back?
There is. Each one has a 10 by 20 backyard. My intention was to fence those individually with a single side yard, so they'd end up with a 6-foot by the full depth of the home, which would be 34. So 6 by 34, and then 10 by 20 across the back. That would be their private fenced area.
I would strongly encourage you to apply for a variance. It may, I know you've got time that you're worried about, and so we may end up having you build-
Microphone?
Oh, I thought we weren't using them.
No, they're
Okay.
recording, yes.
Got it. So it may not work for this development, but I think that would be, I think it's a good discussion to have. And Counselor Kohler and I were just at a League of Oregon Cities conference, and middle housing is a big topic. We've got a urban growth boundary listening session coming up on the 10th. You might want to attend that. It's here at this city, and everyone is welcome. And then Counselor Kohler and I talked about following that up with a housing summit to talk about exactly these types of things and the changes that are happening with CFEC, which I can't remember what that stands for.
Climate-friendly, equitable communities.
There you go.
You're welcome.
So there's a lot of interesting information coming up, and it's changing rapidly. So it may not work for this one. I like how this looks, and I don't know where it's going, but I hope you'll consider applying for a variance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? So, yes, definitely work with Mr. Witham. Anything else that we would need to follow up on, then this would go through our planning process. Counselor Cross?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo what Counselor Christopher said, that I think that the height just kind of gets away from everyone, and so if we can meet in the middle somewhere, that would be great.
All right, thank you very much. And the time for folks who are watching for the listening session this Saturday is from 9 to 11. Thank you so much, and look forward to you working with Mr. Witham. Okay, that is everybody. I signed up for public comment. Did I miss anything? Okay. Council President Starr, would you please read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Yes. Our consent calendar for tonight reads, item A, event center use fee waiver for Soaring Heights Recovery Homes, their 3rd annual vision dinner. Item B, authorizing the city manager to award and enter into an agreement with K&E Excavating LLC for the McLeod Storm Drain Realignment Phase 2 project. Item C, resolution authorizing the city manager to award and enter into a contract with First Pacific Corporation for construction of Keizer Rapids Turf Fields Phase 2. Item D, resolution amending the Keizer personnel policies and amending Resolution R 2025-3549. And item E, approval of the April 21st, 2025 regular session minutes.
Thank you very much. Any polls? I'm going to be polling E. Okay, Council President Starr?
I move the Keizer City Council adopt the consent calendar, items A through D as read.
Second.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. Items A through D All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. On item 7E, on page 27 of the packet is page 3 of the minutes, under the item regarding the proclamation list. There are 2 votes that are listed for my motion to amend to put the Constitution Week as a recognized proclamation. One says 7-0 approved, the other one says 1-6 not. The second one is the correct one. So I'd like to pull that first section where it has a vote of 7-0 and leave in the one that says it's 1-6. And then the final vote was the 6-1 as noted. You got that, Ms. Bissett? Okay. With that, move to approve the April 21, 2025 regular session minutes as amended.
Need a second?
I need a second.
Oh, second.
Hello?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Public hearings. I'd like to open a public hearing for the resolution exemption of the name brand specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection product from competitive bidding and purchasing play structure materials, Surface America Fall Protection materials, and installation services from Ross Recreation Equipment Company, Inc. for Bob Newton Family Park. Mr. Manager. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Mr. Lawyer has this item.
Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council, this matter is before the council tonight for public hearing pursuant to the Keizer Code, Chapter 2, Article 5, Sections 2.156. I just had to say that because I don't get to quote the code very often. Staff's recommending that Surface America brand name specification materials, landscape structures, booster play structure materials, and installation services be contracted with Ross Recreation Equipment for the play structure replacement at Bob Newton Family Park. These are the same vendors and materials that were used for the play structures at Claggett Creek Park, Meadows Park, and Ben Miller Family Park recently. This is also the same servicing that is at the Big Toy, and the same servicing that is at Wallace House play structure. We've primarily identified the fall protection surfacing as our preferred product, and there's only one contractor that installs it. So in order for us to be able to use that product, we have to go through this public hearing exemption process pursuant to our purchasing rules. They've done a really good job for us in everything they've done so far, so I see no reason this would not be the same case. This project's estimated to cost cost $412,985.30. That's the quote, the bid that they gave us for the project. In order for the materials to be purchased and the material placed, as I mentioned, we have to have the exemption, and the council has to authorize that exemption. This is consistent with the council's goals in completing a project identified in the 3 to 5 year Parks Priority Plan. This actually was the second version of the 3 to 5 year plan, because we got through the first 5 year period that was started when the fees were implemented. And this rose to the surface, or rose to the top of the list for the second 5 year plan. Approval of this request now will allow the play structure to be completed and in use before the end of summer. I hope it's before the end of June, but there's some material delayed concerns, I will say, not problems, but concerns that may delay the project a little longer than we hoped. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Lawyer? Okay, seeing none. I don't have anybody signed up to testify for this public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on this matter? The floor is open. Okay, seeing none. Anything further for council before I close the public hearing? The public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr.
I move Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R2025, exemption of the brand name specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection Product from competitive bidding and purchasing, play structure materials, and installation services from Ross Recreation Equipment Company for Bob Newton Family Park.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2025, exemption of the brand name specification purchase of Surface America Fall Protection Product from competitive bidding and purchasing play structure materials and installation services from Ross Recreation Equipment Company for Bob Newton Family Park. Any discussion? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lawyer, does that include removing the existing fall protection that's there?
Yes, it includes removing the fall protection and the structure, the existing play structure itself. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. That concludes public hearings for this evening. We are going to move on then to administrative action. And the first item up, item 9A, is the medical disposal rate discussion. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This item is in front of you really as a preview and to also direct staff to bring it back if you so choose. We have Mr. Sean Edmonds here from Mid-Valley, and also Kevin Hines from the MRF, the Mid-Valley Recycling Center. And we're approached a couple months ago. We've kind of known this is coming with the closing of the incinerator. And that finally happened. And they are having to take the medical waste to haul it to other places. Part of it is going to Idaho. The other part is going to crematoriums in Portland. And that is a much greater expense than what they had, the opportunity they had in Brooks, which they could dispose of medical waste at $85 a ton there. So they're going to be requesting a 60 to 70% increase on just the medical waste piece. So this shouldn't affect the people's trash at their home. That's a separate service. This affects medical offices, hospitals, and potentially disposal of sharps, things like that. So they're requesting that they have a large volume and a low volume and a high volume rates, and then two sizes for each one of those. So low volume, 20-gallon containers. If they're less than 60, then their just cost is going up from $23 to $44.95. And then for 35 gallons, low volume, $26 to $48.95. And then for high volume, they get a little bit of a break for higher containers, more containers. So the 20 gallons, $17.50 to $33.35, and then 35 gallons, $19.50 to $37.35. For the council to consider this rate increase, it would have to be, you'd have to direct us to bring it back for a public hearing. And the requirements of the public hearing are such that it couldn't be for the meeting, the next meeting in May. It would have to be the first meeting in June. So they are here to answer questions, and really we wanted to get this out in front of you to give enough time for our residents to come and give feedback if they desire to do that, and also for you to consider. So the request today is to direct staff to bring it back on the first meeting in June and for consideration and public hearing. And all of that public hearing would have to be advertised in our local paper.
Thank you very much. Questions? Okay, I will go with Councilor Cross and then Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, my first question is that I start thinking, I don't worry about like the big places, but then I just came to my head, Northwest Dental. How much, like, small businesses are struggling to survive, struggling. So what does that look like in a small business like that?
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
wouldn't mind
one-
inviting them up, they could
Okay.
probably give you a more specific
Yeah.
answer to that than I could.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Good afternoon. Yeah, pleased to have the opportunity to address everybody, Madam Mayor, City Council, and staff. Again, I'm Sean Edmonds. I work over at Lawrence Sanitation, and with me tonight, happy to present Mr. Kevin Hines here from Resource, our material recovery facility over at Brooks.
Can you pull the
And-
microphone a little closer to you? We are recording.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's recording.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And he's directly responsible for the operations of Marion Environmental Services, so he'll be able to answer a lot of direct questions. But just to set the table so all of you know, if you remember, I think it was late last year, we talked about the shutting down of Covanta and what was invariably probably going to happen, and that we were getting a very, very good rate with the disposal at that site, which Kevin can certainly speak to. But in terms of the overall impact, just so everybody knows as well, this is a very small customer base. It's approximately 47 customers, and it only impacts commercial. We're not talking about the residential services. And so with that, again, for a number of years, we've enjoyed a very, very nice rate in terms of disposal at the burner. As a matter of fact, Kevin, you can probably expand upon that a little bit to give everybody a little bit more education on what that process looked like and kind of where we're transitioning to now.
Yeah, absolutely. Madam Mayor, members of the council, like Sean said, I'm the CO for Marion Environmental Services. We're the ones that does the collection for the franchise for Valley Recycling Disposal and Lawrence Sanitation here in Keizer. And yeah, we're really here for an increase due to the fact that Covanta Reworld has shut down. As Sean had mentioned, we took advantage, or not took advantage, but we had the benefit of very, very low incineration rates there at Brooks. Typically, a disposal rate for this type of incineration material is anywhere from $600 to $800 a ton. The first couple decades, it was 87.45. So that is a significant disposal increase, one. And the fact that the transportation cost having to go to Idaho and up to Portland versus literally just in Brooks. So really the total increase is based on the transportation and disposal increases with the shutdown of a incinerator here locally. We provide those services, like Sean said, there's about 47 commercial customers here in town. This doesn't impact residential customers. These are commercial medical waste, dentist office, clinics, things like that. So yeah, unfortunately, we don't want to be here, with, a 60 or 70% increase in those type of rates. But unfortunately, with not having an incinerator here, those are kind of our options. Now, the good thing is, we're working with a company, BioClean Industries. They are located here in Salem. They're working on a process here locally to where we can take those materials locally rather than have to go to Idaho up in Portland. Their process isn't there yet. They hope that they will have, it's basically an ozone process rather than an incinerator. And they're waiting for their machine to get in. They hope to have that in by the end of the year. So our hopes are these rates won't be we won't have these high rates going forward, but we don't really know yet because they don't have that process in place yet.
And just so everybody knows as well, Marion County implemented and approved these rates in January, is that right?
Yeah, so we know that there's a process to go in front of cities and councils. So Marion County approved their rates within Marion County in January. The city of Salem approved theirs in March, and then now we're here in front of you guys for that same process.
it's really our last city that we need to get in front of, but we wanted to make sure that we were very methodical and kind of went through that. So, and again, I know we had these conversations late last year and kind of set the table that the rates were probably going to double, and we're about there. But like Kevin says, hopefully BioClean can come up with a different type of process that potentially in the future could reduce this cost. But at this point, actually, Marion Environmental Services is absorbing this cost as of January. So again, that's why we're here to ask for the approval, and we certainly understand there's a process. We want to make sure that we're following that, and you know that the community at large has an opportunity to think about it and review it and things of that nature. But again, it really impacts a very small subset of customers.
Thank you. Counselor Cross has a follow-up.
Thank you. So you said 47 different businesses. Do we know like how many have 10 employees or less? Or how big those businesses are? Or do you know,
I
like, the
do
average?
not have that information.
Yeah, we don't have those statistics this evening.
Well, I mean, I'm very passionate about any additional rates.
Sure.
So
Understand
the
it.
first thing I think of is small
Understand.
business. So
Yeah,
I would
yep.
love to have that kind of information because those, when everyone in the small business community, especially local businesses, are scratching for every penny, you know, that's a big increase.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Council President Starr, and then I'll go to Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for being here. I just want to I have a few questions, but number one, you said this doesn't impact our residential customers. Are we keeping, I mean, those rates, do you expect to come back in front of us, or are we good with that?
Some of those rates on, specifically in Salem, have already been approved. And we'll be talking more about that with our overall increase that we look at the end of every year. So that discussion would be more so in January.
Okay, thank you. And then,
Follow-up?
thank you. And that you would expect this rate increase to take effect July 1?
And I'm sorry, I meant Marion County. Yes, well, whenever we can get it certainly approved, because again, it's been since January 1 that, you know, we've been absorbing those costs for Marion Environmental Services. So yeah, respectfully, we would like to get the increase certainly approved so they don't have to continue to absorb the cost, because at this point, it's costing them money to provide this type of service.
Okay, great. I think that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Kevin, what kind of volume are we really talking about here?
Are you talking in terms of box count or tons? I don't have the exact
So are we talking
volume per
about
customer.
several tons? I mean, we're talking about 10 tons, or are we talking about 3 or 4 tons?
Oh, I think
quarter?
it's a very small volume. I mean, most of our customers, the boxes weigh less than 25 pounds. So when we're talking the $6 to $8, $100 per ton, the volume amount is very small.
Follow-up? You good?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I've been around a few crematoriums in my day. So if you had a box that was 20 pounds, I mean, how often are you having is it like a medical waste box? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And so how many of those are you picking up a week or a month?
I don't have that exact count. I know on the, so there's sharps, which is basically your syringes, your gloves, those things, then there's pathological.
Right.
The pathological, is less than 3% of the total volume.
So have you contacted local crematoriums in the area to see if they'd be
Yeah,
willing to?
BioClean, has a contract with those folks up in Portland area.
And we started communicating with the customer base quite some time ago. Kevin, when did we send out
Oh,
letters?
it was before the end of last year.
Yeah, so I don't think this will be a surprise to anybody in that.
Yeah, we
particular
sent
account
out
base.
letters to all of our customers that we serve, and letting them know that that we're going to have to change our process just because of Covanta Reworld not being here. So we've already sent those letters out. We've let folks know. We just didn't have the exact pricing at the time.
Right, because there are 4 crematoriums in Marion County.
Okay.
So I just didn't know if you had contacted any of them.
I'm not sure if BioClean has or not. They have contacts up in the Portland area because they provide services up there.
Right, but if we don't have to haul stuff to Portland, then it should be more cost effective.
Sure.
Counselor Cross, and then I'll come back to the side.
Quick, thank you, Madam Mayor. Quick question. So with BioClean, you're not quite there yet, and these rate increases went up. Are you going to lower the rates back down?
Well, that's one of the things that we're going to look at is our costs going forward for sure. Is if BioClean doesn't have those rates yet, they don't have their ozone machine in and up and operating. But one of the things that we talked about was what do the rates look like in the future once they get their machine in? And they're not 100% sure. But that's certainly one of the things that we'll be looking at.
Thank you.
And just to clarify as well, so when Kevin and the team did the due diligence and they looked at the suite of services that needed to be provided for this particular segment of customers, BioClean was the cheapest solution and the most secure and local and things of that nature. So there was a lot of effort and energy put forward to try to make sure that we were, partnering with someone that made sense for our community.
Thank you. Council President Starr?
I think this builds on Councilor Cross's question about would this, and I know it's hard to answer, but if BioClean can get this system in place and the costs are lower than this rate increase, will you adjust your rates for our small businesses?
I think that's something that we're certainly looking at because we don't quite know what their costs are yet and what those are going to be. We know what they currently are right now. But I've had that conversation with BioClean is if we can cut our transportation, our disposal costs down, that's something we would either look at lowering our cost or foregoing any price increases in the future. But that is something that we've definitely had discussions with them with.
Okay. I think that's as probably solid as that we're going to get, right? In terms of where the price.
At this point, yeah, because they're just not quite sure yet.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying though, like the option is either we lower the price or we forego future rate increases.
Yes.
I think that knowing that those two options are on the table gives me a little peace of mind that you're going to do something.
Yeah.
What that is, we don't know.
Yeah, and we absolutely understand. I mean, this is probably the biggest price increase we've ever asked for under the circumstances. But that's why we wanted to have these conversations with BioClean. Absolutely.
Yes. That was took my breath away.
It did us at first too.
Yeah. So.
And again, we're talking about 47 customers, and what's the total customers that you service, Kevin?
About 650 total within Marion County and the incorporated cities.
And again, so all of those have already been implemented and approved, so now we're following up on this little last segment here.
Thank you.
So kind of a bigger picture, because the shutdown of Covanta didn't just impact Marion County, it impacted all of Oregon. Because if I understand it correctly, that was the only place where you could burn biomedical waste in the entire state. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So everybody's scrambling now.
Everybody in the state of Oregon is impacted, yes, absolutely.
Are there any incinerators of this type in Washington?
There's not. The closest one that I'm aware of is in Alabama. There is one in Nevada that is up and running, but that's a Stericycle company, and that is for their Stericycle customers only at this point in time until they expand. But yeah, unfortunately, there's not an incinerator anywhere around that'll accept this material.
So this was it. There was nothing else for 40 years.
Correct.
Yeah, and we exhausted, trust me, all of different types of companies, resources, costing, modeling. And yeah, this was the best outcome that we could arrive at.
No, thank you for, following up on this huge loss to, all of our region on being able to safely dispose of medical waste. So
we did put it out for bid for 3 companies, and like Sean was saying, BioClean was the cheapest, and they're local. They're right in Salem.
Oh, there you go. There's 2 winners right there. Yes. Okay. Anything further? Thank you so much. Council President Starr will need a motion, please.
I move to direct staff to schedule the public hearing and bring back the requested disposal rates for medical waste for public testimony and consideration at a subsequent meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council direct staff to schedule the public hearing and bring back the requested disposal rates for medical waste for public testimony and consideration at a subsequent meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you in June. Next item on our agenda is item 9B, a resolution amending City of Keizer Council Rules of Procedure, amending Resolution R 2025-3568. City Manager?
Your city attorney, Mr. Lindsay, has this item.
All right, Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This was a matter that came before you at the last meeting. The ask was to please return with particular language that affected the proclamation process and the recognition of proclamations. And as well as there was an additional item. And so if you look at page 64 of your packet, you can see the proclamation language, which also includes the words in parenthetic formal process and informal process. The formal being what gets presented at council, and then informal being the recognition of and an issuance of a proclamation, but not a formal presentation. And then on page 65, there was an additional ask by Councilor Christopher to add language about initiating inquiries or investigations. And so that is on page 65, and that squared well with the language that was in 16.1, because that is the internal oversight process that it's a larger process. We put a copy in here just in case you wanted to see it, starting on page 62. It's a longer process than just that paragraph, but I thought putting it in that first paragraph would really phrase or put it where its place of prominence. So you got to be thinking about that before you even initiate the process. So that's why it lands in the first paragraph of 16.1. And if you have any further questions for me, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Any questions? So I'm looking at where this was put in 16.1. So this is in relative to substantial violation of these rules, city charter, ordinance, or general laws. Is that the context in which this addition is being made?
Yeah, it is, if you look on page 62, it kind of spells out the whole process, and you're right. I mean, it's definitely lives in that paragraph.
So I'm trying to run through scenarios in my brain where this applies. So a lot of it has to do with these rules, but also city ordinance, charter, or other general laws. What I'm wondering about, though, in this context is the fiduciary or legal reporting requirements that we may have above and beyond that would statutory requirements for reporting supersede this?
So if there's a conflict of laws, I would always say laws are bigger and more important to follow than rules. So this is a rule that you guys all agree upon as a group that we're going to follow. If there's a law that supersedes that, you would want to make sure to follow that law. So I'll give you reporting requirements. So say you guys are mandatory reporters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you saw somebody abusing, one of each other abusing a child, or if you had reasonable cause, as the words, to believe that somebody was abusing a child, you would go ahead and turn them in within 24 hours like you're supposed to. That as an example. So this is just the rule. So rules live under those things. And so you're telling yourselves, hey, we are responsible, as this starts out, to make sure and enforce our own rules. But as we do that, we want to make sure that before we initiate any sort of inquiry or investigation into those rules, you can't start telling either the city manager or other council employee or staff member to go out and do something without the whole group deciding that. So, but if, and you're right, if there's something statutory that's out there that you have to do as a mandatory reporter, say, you just have to do that first. And then you would go down the road of this if you want it, right? Because when you report, you just report to a reporting agency, which is either a law enforcement or a, DHS. And then that doesn't mean that they can act on it and they can investigate it, they can do all that sort of stuff. You guys could subsequently do your own thing if you really wanted to. I think that would be an odd thing to choose to do.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Council President Starr?
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2025, amending City of Keizer Council Rules of Procedure and amending Resolution R 2025-3568.
Second.
Oops, I'm on my wrong page. There we go. It's been moved, thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2025, amending City of Keizer Council Rules of Procedure, amending Resolution R 2025-3568. Discussion. So I have one comment, because this came out of a comment regarding asking for documentation of a budget request. So what I'm asking for is to help understand how asking for documentation of a budget request from an outside organization rises to a level of an investigation of the counselor who brought that request. Don't we have the responsibility to ensure process compliance for fiduciary accountability? And just because the timeline between the budget request to the city and the board action of the Keizer Heritage Foundation didn't match up, it wasn't a slam on the counselor who brought it, but it was a procedural error, and it was easy fix. But shouldn't we be able to continue to ask questions and inspect publicly available information when allocating public dollars to a private agency, especially when the counselor is also a board officer of that organization and a signer on their accounts? I mean, you're on that board, and you're elected to work on the behalf and interests of the organization. So wouldn't it be in the best interest of both the city and the Heritage Foundation, whose interests you also represent, to ensure that we have eyes on, processes are followed, and avoid confusion? That's all. So would this result in a failure to act when there's an actual interest of significant fiduciary or workplace or employer-employee consequences out of fear of retaliation? Will the council members be told to be silent rather than work on a remedy to fix issues? I find this change to be chilling, and I think it will result in a less transparent and accountable process with the potential to suppress complaints or misconduct, and therefore I will be voting no. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. No. Motion passes 6-1, the no is Clark. Okay, let's go on to item 9C, which is the recognition of neighborhood associations. Mr. Brown?
Mr. Lindsay has this item.
Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you.
This was fast.
Yes. We went through a work session
I know.
where the neighborhood associations and the council met, and they talked about what's working and what might be needing to be a little tweaked, in particular as to the code that applies to the neighborhood associations. So what you'll see on page 70 and 71 are the few places with which the counselor or the council and neighborhood associations thought that we could use changes or amendments to the code. One is not demanding formal addresses, but just a more generalized contact information so people can choose what they're comfortable sharing. One is making sure that for the bylaws, that the council doesn't take reign of the bylaws and have final say or determination in them, but only checks them for compliance. And then the final one on the second page is that there is this idea at the reporting period that there should be probably a 10-page maximum in a written report, and that, you know, we love oral reports and written reports, but just making sure that, you know, they don't have to show up with 100 pages just to take the pressure off. So those were the changes that I'm putting forward.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the proposed language or staff report? Okay, Council President Starr, would you please put a motion on the table?
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt ordinance number 2025 relating to the recognition of neighborhood associations and amending Keizer Code sections 2-274 and 2-275.
Second, thank you, Joe.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt a bill for an ordinance 2025 relating to recognition of neighborhood associations, amending Keizer Code sections 2-274 and 2-275. Discussion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. That takes us to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Brown, does staff have any other business to bring before council this evening?
Madam Mayor and Council, I do not have any additional business to bring before you tonight.
Thank you very much. Council members, do you have other business to bring before the council this evening? Okay. Staff updates. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. We have a town hall listening session on Saturday, 9 to 11, about our urban growth boundary. Should we grow or stay as we are? So it'll be a presentation trying to boil down to some core issues, and then a listening to those who come and try to answer any questions for them. But yeah, we'd like to hear what our residents think. And this is something the council's asked for, and we're excited to move forward on. So Saturday, May 10th, 9 to 11. And then also it'll be on the 27th. We'll have an evening opportunity for if that works better for folks.
Right. Thank you very much. And thank you for getting this organized. Yes, Councilor Christopher?
So do we have funding available that we could furnish donuts and coffee?
You had me at donuts.
Okay, I felt the same way, Adam. So, and you know, those little, we could get like the Dutch Brother carafe things. That would be great.
Yep.
I think they would be happy to have that. Thank you.
Mr. Wood?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Well, and you've been very, very busy. We got our budgets. Thank you very much for providing those for us and for the budget committee. They're in the mailbox. So budget committee members can pick up their budgets today, correct?
That is correct. Budgets are available. Just stop by the front counter and I'll be glad to help you.
All right, and it's posted on the website, correct?
That is correct as well.
Awesome. So everybody can look at the budget. It's out there for the whole universe to read. Happy reading. And thank you to you and your staff. And I noticed it also received a award again for excellence in presentation.
I think we're getting close to year 15 or 16 on that award, so
Yeah.
pretty exciting.
It
Not
is.
as well as
Bravo.
our annual financial report, but we're getting close.
Yeah. And those, again, those are not participation ribbons. Those are earned.
That is correct.
Yes, well earned. Congratulations. Ms. Bissett?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Chief?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, city councilors. I want to point 5 things that I'll be very quick about so Shane can go home, get his beauty sleep. I would love to point you all to our Instagram and Facebook page for a recent posting that Corbin helped us develop, where we interviewed Lieutenant Hine, Officer Perez, Officer Starnes. We're just trying to bring life to the police department and highlight some of our really, really cool cops. So good. Anyways, more of that to come. We did a great event at Plaza Morelia down at the south end of town where we did coffee with a cop, but they brought in the fire department, a couple other things, canine. Great event, was pretty well attended. On the darker side of things, like just on the police side, I mean, if you saw, we put out the press release, just pointing you guys out to that press release is like, we caught a guy with 5 guns that just stolen from a house, right? Yeah. So things happen in Keizer. Our officers are out doing really good police work. Everybody was safe. Could have turned out to be something terrible, but it wasn't. I got to hang out with some folks on Friday evening at the Percy event. I looked a little bit different, but that was a fun event.
Elvis was in the room.
I had some hair. And then the last thing is huge shout out to Lieutenant Winning. He is our accreditation manager for the police department. Every 3 years, you have to get accredited through the Northwest Accreditation Alliance. It comes with some benefits through insurance and different things. And it's going to be required by all agencies. You have to. This is our 3rd accreditation, so maybe 3rd or 2nd, I can't remember. Anyways, but you have to basically come up with about 120 proofs, meaning, hey, when you handcuff somebody, do you double lock the handcuffs? You have to prove that we do that every time, right? In reports and in by video. So he went through all these different proofs to get us accredited, and I'm on the accreditation board, and which doesn't mean anything. I get to abstain from the vote. But we did get accredited 2 weeks ago. Nice. So it goes for another 3 years. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, it just shows the professionalism of our agency and of our officers and our staff. Our policies and procedures are good, and we actually follow them, and that's what that really says. So, big deal.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly can't top that, but I'd just like to say we continue to keep the water flowing, clean and safe to drink, streets clean, parks acceptable for the public to use anytime they want, and stormwater drain into the rivers and creeks in the city. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Witham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. I don't have a ton, but it's been real busy. We kind of had a little slew of building permits that came in over the last couple weeks. And I know y'all have asked me a million times. It was in Mr. Brown's update. But, I mean, I don't know that it's going to be done in time for the Walla Walla Sweet Onions rings this year.
Sweet potato fries?
But I mean, hopefully, yeah, right. Okay. Burgerville officially finally applied for their permit. So that was good news. Also, there was a few other, like UGM is doing some remodeling at Samonka. The Discount Tire up at Area D, we've been waiting on them for a while, wondering when they were going to apply. So they just happened to all kind of apply electronically on the same day. So anyway, so things are happening. It's been kind of busy. So, and we are actively working. We will be bringing more changes to the code that, from some of the comments made tonight, I don't think that you're going to love them, because a lot of them have to do with things that we can no longer regulate, like parking. So that's all.
Way to slide that in there.
Wow.
And he's out.
Yep. Well, we've got more CFAC fun and games coming, so. And with that, Mr. Lindsay.
Oh, thank you. Nothing to share tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Council reports. I'll start with Councilor Duran.
Yes. What's a councilor report? What's it been? It's been like
forever.
3 months since we've done one.
Well, we don't have to fill the time between now and 9 o'clock, so.
Well, you know how good I am at that, so I'm gonna.
I do.
No, last week, week before last, I had scats, and there really wasn't, I mean, most of the stuff was just talking about what's coming up. Last week I did the Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association, and I spoke a little bit about that. Their big thing is getting ready for the National Night Out, and they're getting started early, so they're getting ready for that. And they did talk about the parking problem and issues around Ben Miller Park, along with Alder. So hopefully we can get that talked about and try and get some adjustments for them in that. MWAC last Thursday. ODOT talked about a lot of the projects coming up. And the biggest one, I know this is kind of the regional thing, is one of the big ones is Highway 55 and 22 intersection. They're doing something, I don't know if anybody's seen that in the paper, but they're doing an emergency adjustment to that intersection to hopefully get accidents shut down. So this is just a temporary while they're waiting to really redo the whole intersection. But hopefully the changes they'll make here in the next few months will make a difference and save lives. That's about it.
Yeah, that's the usual one. 2251? That one? That was, okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Counselor Christopher.
Thank you. So I have a question. Bill, who is doing the Learn to Fish at Keizer Rapids? Isn't that the Parks Department or no?
No, it's a coordination between, I believe, Oregon Fish and Wildlife and our environmental and technical team.
Okay. So I just wanted to let everyone know that is also on May 10th, which is Saturday. So if you're not coming to the town hall listening session, you can go fishing at Keizer Rapids Park at the boat dock. And tomorrow night is Keizer Fire, and that's going to be wildlife preparedness, which, I mean, who thought?
Wildfire.
What did I say?
Wildlife.
Oh, wildlife. Okay, might be wildfire preparedness. And whoever thought we'd need that, and then yet here we are. Here we are. So I wanted to bring that up. I also wanted to say how much I appreciate the neighborhood associations. That's one of my favorite meetings to go to. I'm in a desert, so I don't have a neighborhood association. So when we had our work session and the neighborhood association said, if you are in a desert, you get to go to anyone you want, but I'm liaison to Greater Gubser. And I just want to compliment the chairs. You guys do a lot of work, a lot of interesting stuff. Last month, they had Robert Becker there and he talked about oral histories. It was well received. And I think those are really meaningful. I think they're really meaningful to the neighborhoods. It's a smaller entity, so it's more just like a small group, almost, you can get your arms around that rather than the entire city. So I just wanted to say you're doing a great job and I really appreciate it. Oh, here, my boss just handed me this. Can I promote this? It's for the Gold Star Memorial. Can I solicit funds?
No.
I can't solicit funds. I would tell you, there is an event coming up on May 31st. There may be tickets. They may cost $20. Kyle and I may have them.
It's all for the Gold Star family.
It's all for the Gold Star Foundation. It's a
kids.
private concert with the, how do you say it? Electracoustics. Acoustics? Okay. Anyway, it's JFK Light. It's JFK Light. It's a private concert. There's only 100 people that get to go. So you'll want to be one of them. Thanks.
Be there or be square.
That's right.
Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So 'tis the season of spring events, have been very busy, but I think my most favorite was the event last week, the Día del Niño event at Plaza Morelia. And I just want to give a shout out to the Keizer Police team that staffed that event. It was absolutely a blast hanging out with them. Sergeant Quintero and Alejandra did such a great job putting that together and staffing the table. Max, the canine, was a hit, right? The dog always wins the day with Officer Darst. And so just wanted to say good job on that. And I understand there's already plans to make it bigger and better next year and maybe do some more outreach and make it more accessible because it was crowded. But I'm also going to say the cake and the desserts were amazing. So go check it out at Plaza Morelia.
Thank you. Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, there's been a lot of fun events. I attended the Burgerville soft opening, and they had part of the proceeds go to Marion Polk Food Share, so that was pretty awesome. I attended with Salem Mayor Hoy and Commissioner Bethel. Boys and Girls Club Happy Hour, that event was great, and love all that they do for the kiddos in our community. This week, I'm looking forward to the UGM Renew Luncheon. That's one of my favorite lunches. And also the Liberty House Cherish the Children event. And again, if you don't know anything about Liberty House, they do tours, but they help 2 kiddos a day, and now they have a mental health part. So excited about all the good things happening in our community.
Thank you very much. Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things. We had a Keizer community dinner last month, and it was a lot of fun. We served about 225 people again. So there are a few things that are going to be happening and changing with that, so stick around and come to a dinner near you. Attended the Gold Star Memorial, what'd they call that? Groundbreaking with special shovels. They were pretty cool. And a little special thank you to Keizer Duran for covering Southeast Keizer Neighborhood Association while I was at the LOC conference. Appreciate him doing that. LOC conference? Oh, yes. It was down in North Bend, down by Coos Bay. And it was the biggest conference they'd ever had for a spring conference, 50 more than they'd ever had. So I got to visit with a lot of good vendors and some good presentations, one on urban growth boundary, which was extremely informative. And I want to thank you, the West Keizer Neighborhood Association, for the cute little key fob. Appreciate that. Thank you. And I get to go to KU, Keizer United, next Monday, so I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Parsons?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Don't forget, we have Keizer Fest, and we have a parade.
That's right.
City councilors parade.
Do we have to go to that?
Yes, that's the 17th. And then the 18th, there'll be a breakfast at the firehouse early in the morning. And I'm cooking the scrambled eggs, so you might not want those.
them.
Oh, your foundation.
You
Yeah.
cook them, I serve them.
Okay, good. Also, we're selling pickets again for the big toy. There's like only 100 boards left, so you got to come get them while you can. They're going to be $50, and you want to call 503-856-3561. 3561. What did I say? Oh, $35. Oh, it says 50 on the website. It says 50 on the website. City of Keizer website. Are they 35? Because I thought they were, but then I saw it on City of Keizer website today that they were. 50.
I thought they were 35 too. I have not looked at the website. I will get it clarified first thing in the morning.
Okay, great. So I'll stay tuned for that price, but get them while you can. And then we're painting.
There's only 100 left,
That's correct.
and then there are not going to be any more.
I don't think there's a way we can put any more up. Yes.
There's limited space.
Yes.
Yeah, the engraved pickets go on the perimeter fence. There is fencing inside the big toy, but the way the surfacing is placed, it covers up the bottom of the pickup and some of the screws, so we can't get to them. If we have an overwhelming demand, we'll see what we can do to add to it. But for now, it's about 100, and that's the perimeter fence all the way around.
Yeah, and Adam counted every single one of them too, so if there's more, you gotta talk to him. And then we're gonna paint the big toy on June 21st. And I'm trying to organize groups, certain things that need to be painted. This group of person will do it. Like the fire department's gonna do their fire truck. The Freemans are gonna do their Ford truck. The Elks will do their bridge and so forth and so on. So,
On the 21st?
that's to be determined because we're kind of waiting on make sure that the weather's gonna be nice.
Okay.
Right,
You'll just
so,
tell us what to do.
yes, yes, I can do that.
Yes, you can.
Like usual then?
Yep, that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, mark your calendar, that's going to be fantastic. Just a couple of things. I went to the State of the Region's Healthcare. Thank you to Salem Health for providing this very timely information for the 3rd year, letting us know the resources we have here, the challenges that we have, and the number of people and the complexity of the needs of people in our community. It was very, very interesting and very helpful. I took advantage of the opportunity to attend Mr. Brown's high performance organization training. Thank you for inviting us to do that. I got a lot out of it and a lot of great food for thought. And I got to meet and get to know a couple of our city employees better in those really good conversations. So thank you so much for allowing me to do that. I was able to do the welcome for the ACT Chair and Modal Committee meeting from the Oregon Transportation Commission. They love using our Keizer Event Center, so they brought the whole crew back here again this year. And great conversation about what's happening with the transportation package and also the maintenance and operations for our roadways across the state, as well as all the other modes operating here. Already talked about Gold Star, and coming up, tomorrow night is going to be, is it tomorrow? No, Wednesday night is going to be McNary's Night of Music down at the Elsinore. So if you want to hear a great concert, tickets are available to go and support our McNary musicians. They are always fantastic. Also coming up will be the League of Oregon Cities Region 3 meeting in Independence. It got canceled because of the ice storm, so folks who registered, you got re-registered for that. So that's this, yeah, I think you signed up for it, didn't you?
I think I did.
Yeah. So you should have gotten an email from them reminding you that it got moved to Thursday. And this Thursday, yes, in Independence. And then this coming Saturday evening, or no, Saturday noon, we'll have J-Lad, our Joys of Living assistance dog. We'll have another graduation of these wonderful dogs and their people. So looking forward to that. And I'll thank you for reminding us all. Keizer Fest, Keizer Fest, Keizer Fest. And that's all I got. For agenda input, we have our budget committee on Monday, May 12th, starting at 6 p.m., Tuesday, May 13th, starting at 6 p.m., and if we need a third night, it will be May 15th, also at 6 p.m. We will meet on Monday, May 19th, in regular session at 6 p.m., followed by an executive session. And then on Monday, June 2nd, 6 p.m., Monday, June 9th, will be a joint work session with the Community Diversity Engagement Committee. And that is all I have for the agenda. So I will now read this into the record. The City Council will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, parens 2, parens I, to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the Chief Executive Officer of any public body, public officer, employee, or staff member who does not request an open hearing. Representatives of the news media shall be allowed to attend. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed to not report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions will be made in this executive session. The City Council, along with the City Manager, may attend. The meeting will take place in the Public Works Planning Conference Room, and the City Council will not be reconvening after the meeting. With that, the time is 7:53 and we are adjourned.
It is before 8 o'clock.